They say technology makes our lives easier for work, to learn, to travel, to communicate. But there are things that machines cannot yet do. Things as important as engaging, putting themselves in your shoes, having intuition, or making intelligent decisions. In an increasingly technological world, we need professionals who provide intelligent solutions based on their know-how. Because there are things that technology cannot yet do for you. The human tech.
Good afternoon, everyone. Well, thank you very much for joining us today on the 22nd of January 2025. Right, we're ready to go and start a new year, and we always thought that it will be great to talk about family relocation. Family relocation involves talking about moving with family, how many members of our family we're going to move over to Spain. What about taxes? Are we paying taxes, or are we going to become non-tax resident, spending less than 183 days? What happens if we apply for visas, and what type of visas there are all involved? I mean, what legal requirements we have for it? On top of that, you need to think about, what about your investments? Is it better to leave it at home yet and discuss it with the financial advisor? Children, what happens with my children? Do I need to send them now to a local public school, or do I have international options? So there is a lot of questions here to talk and a lot of topics to talk. We thought it might be very interesting to introduce you today different people in the panel that they're very happy to join us for today's time. We have a specialist from different fields, and I'm gonna just pass over first to Pedro about talking about these first decisions about moving to Spain. Obviously, we're talking about legal, tax. Then Michael would tell us a little bit about buying a property in Spain, or even an option, rent to buy, and then finally buying a property. Then we could just talk about the possibilities of being tax resident or non-tax resident, the immigration, and Rafael as well will tell us a bit about what to do to talk about with regards to investment. Nicola will tell us options you have if you decide to move over to Spain, depending on the city and that you are relocating into, and what type of private schools that you've got the options to look into to give best education possible here. We have as well Moody from Bay Radio, who's bringing questions from the audience, and then we're happy for you to start sending us all your questions over to the chat. Okay, so I'm going to pass over to Pedro, and then please feel free to send us your questions straight away, and we will try to make our best to try to fit it in 1 hour. Over to you, Pedro.
Okay, hello everyone. Hello, Ignacio. Just in order to be brief, obviously, about relocation, and this is what our experience tell us in the first contact with clients, is to plan in order to, whenever you're going to relocate someone who wants to, at the end, live in Spain, to retire, or live in Spain just to move business, or maybe just to relocate because you're going to work remotely in Spain. I mean, first thing is to plan the issues and the steps that needs to be taken on. I mean, as whenever someone moves into Spain, there are 3 pillars that needs to be checked. First of all, obviously, is the immigration issue. How am I do I fulfill the requirements in order to get a visa or authorization to be resident, which is the best option? And secondly, is about taxes. Whenever I become resident in Spain, then I will have to declare worldwide income in Spain. Do I have I'm entitled to maybe to get some benefits on taxes as a non-resident, for example, Beckham law, or should I move my business, or should I leave a business abroad and maybe work remotely, or maybe, I mean, there are different issues that needs to be planned on taxes. And the third one, which is also highly important, is normally whenever someone is going to move into Spain, normally is going to rent a property or invest into a property. And sometimes someone is just investing because they have some other properties in the world, or some properties, or the property which is in the country is kept there in order to be rented, or maybe just to have it available in that country. But maybe they want to sell, someone wants to sell a property and move with their family, or just move the cash into an investment into Spain. Well, at the end, everything is connected. Obviously, those things that whenever someone is going to sell, obviously there's a tax if you become tax resident that year. Someone is going to rent. I mean, all the rents that maybe that you're going to get from outside, pensions or salary on rentals is going to have a tax implication in Spain, according to the double taxation treaties between Spain and the country where the pension or the income comes. Dividends, interest, capital gains, anything at the end has a tax implication in Spain whenever you become tax resident in Spain. And obviously this has an impact on all those things: immigration, when to start, when to do it, and the investment or rentals and taxes. On immigration, and just to speak about basics, and before we see the questions that the audience may have. On immigration, let's say there are like three kind of pillars. One of them is when someone wants to retire into Spain, just want to, because it's not going to work, is obviously is retired, it's a pensioner, that has a specific, obviously, visa in order to enter in Spain, which is, we call it non-lucrative visa. It's like non-working visa. When someone has enough money to live in Spain, sufficient money to live in Spain, whether it comes to rent a property or maybe buy a property, has to have a place in order to live into Spain, and just shows that have enough money in Spain in order to live without working. Important issues is no criminal records in a country that has been living in the last 5 years. We need to have a report of that specific country. Well, it's really the 2 years plus the 3 years declaration that there is no criminal records. In the countries, I mean, we need our criminal records in the country that has been living in the last 5 years, and the records on that country anytime that criminal record appears. And then if it's a family marriage certificate, birth certificate, if in case it is included children, not with a non-lucrative visa, normally is not included in these cases, because normally are retired people, and normally retired people we're talking about around 60 and over. And then the medical issue, if you have you are eligible in order to get health access from your country in order to have access to Spain, with it has a convention between Spain and that country. We call it S1, which is a health certification in order to have access to the health system in Spain. Perfect. If not, with a private insurance policy in order to have access to the health system. Well, this is basically in a non-lucrative visa with a proof of funds or proof of financial means that you have enough money to live in Spain. So you will have enough situations in order to acquire this visa. So we're talking about, firstly, I mean, there's a non-lucrative visa when someone wants to retire, but maybe someone do not want to retire, maybe someone wants to have or be eligible in order to work. Well, we have a nomad visa now, which is a remote working, or into Spain. You are eligible to come as a self-employment, or you are eligible to come in case that you are employee of a company from outside of Spain. Obviously, you need to prove that well, you are employee of a company, you have some payrolls, a minimum 3 months. The company is valid as much more or less 1 year, more than 1 year. And if it's a self-employment, you have to show some experience, a minimum 3 years experience on working on that kind of field. Well, basically, these are the situations where nomad visa you will be able to acquire, and you may be able to also get some benefits and taxes, not just because of a nomad visa, just because you are a foreigner that wants to become resident in Spain and work. And Also, we have the other one, which is a working visa, which has different issues. And you want to create a company, you are an entrepreneur of a company, and you want to have some impact on Spain, or you want to create a company in order to be based in Spain, and also will have some issues and benefits on that. Maybe you want to relocate. You have a company of I don't know, import export. You want to have a company of a website, or you have a company of anything that you want to move it into Spain. That will also be able to work on a visa situation. Obviously, the student visa and all these things also will be possibly be done. So the immigration issue, it has an impact. Also, we have a golden visa, which is going to be ending on the 3rd of April this year. So those ones who are still eligible on investment, I think Ramoni was going to speak about that, or are through the process of buying a property or has already bought a property, will still be eligible to apply for golden visa until the 3rd of April this year. And then we have, well, immigration taxes. Taxes. Whenever you become resident, you will have to declare your worldwide income in Spain, according to the double taxation. So it is crucial that you plan what is going to happen before you come to Spain, what is going to happen, what are the steps to take it further, and in order to not to get any surprise, and to plan, obviously, to at the end to pay less taxes according to the rules in Spain, according to the rules in your country, according to the rules on a convention to avoid double taxation between countries. That's crucial that you make this step, get further and professional information about the situation so you don't get any surprise. If you become resident in Spain, the first year you may be non-resident for tax purposes. Why is that? Because maybe you do not stay in Spain more than 183 days in Spain. So if you become, let's say, resident in the second semester of a year, it is a presumption, well, that you've been living in Spain less of half of a year. So because the tax year becomes on the 1st of January and the tax year ends on the 31st of December, so you will be, if you come in the second semester, you will not be tax resident, even though you got residency, let's say, in August. And you don't have to show up any capital gains, any interest, any dividends, anything, any income around the world because you are non-tax resident in Spain. But if you become resident on the first semester and you are resident in Spain, then it is a presumption that obviously you are tax resident and you have to declare your worldwide income in Spain the following year. So in 2026, you need to declare any income you may got on 2025, this year, from the 1st of January to 31st of December. So it is important to plan what are your needs, what is your specific situation. You need to sell a property, you need to buy here another one, you need to get a lump sum of money from a pension, you need to, anything will have some tax implications. And that means that you need to take a look on that and check what is the appropriate situation to you. Okay, and well, that's the basics, obviously, in order to start. I mean, immigration, obviously, the entrance door. And then before you become resident, it's compulsory to check your tax situation. And then we have the third pillar, which is extremely important and connected with everything at the same time, really, is the investment and rental, which Michael is going to give us a summary of what are the steps in order to invest in a property in Spain, or maybe rent a property in Spain. Okay, I'll leave it to you, Ignacio and Michael, and
Okay.
obviously we're happy to answer any question.
Thank you, Pedro. Thank you very much for just starting the presentation. We'll try to cover all the questions, or as much as we can, because we're having a lot of them. Right. So we assume now people are planning to move and relocate into Spain. They already need to make their mind and do tax simulations with regards to the possible taxes scenario. More than 183 days, less than 183 days. Some people get complex or get confused with immigration timing and tax timing. The tax timing starts from the 1st of January to the 31st of December. Immigration does not cover that. Immigration is from the time of arrival in Spain. Okay, there is a bit of a connection to do things, but you don't necessarily need to, it's two different impacts that we will cover later on. Now, taking for granted that you managed to come here, you are probably a not tax resident, so you buy 1 year. you come after the 1st of July, or you spend less than 183 days, you already managed to get your visa if you're a non-European. If you're European, you will apply for your residency, and then you start renting and you would like to buy property or rent. I'm going to pass over to Michael. Michael is a lawyer in Almeria covering Andalusia, and he has over more than 25 years experience with property and a lot of inheritance. I'm going to pass over to him and he will cover this topic. Over to you, Michael.
Hi, Ignacio. Hello, everyone. Okay, so my name is Michael Davies. I am a Spanish lawyer and I'm based in Almeria and the Costa del Sol. It's okay. We'll talk about conveyancing in the first instance. We've got a bit of background noise here. If it gets too annoying, Ignacio, just let me know and Pedro can take over the conveyancing part. Okay, so the first thing I'd like to do with conveyancing is get the elephant in the room out of the way. Some people have heard about this new possible transfer tax in Spain for non-EU residents that aren't going to become residents. Sorry, non-EU citizens that are not going to become residents of Spain at the moment of purchase. Okay, so transfer tax at the moment down here in Andalusia, which was where we're based, is 7% on second-hand properties. Up in the Valencia region, which is where Ignacio and Pedro are based, is 10%. And for other regions, you'd have to sort of look it up, but all similar sort of amounts. So what our president said the other day is literally that he's thinking about creating a 100% transfer tax on the purchase of property by non-EU citizens that aren't going to become residents. Okay, so the first thing I'd say about that is that at the moment, everything's a bit uncertain. It's what he said. In the past, he said things like this before, that it hasn't actually come through in the end. If it does happen, it will probably take some time. And it doesn't necessarily need to be that 100%. We just don't know what's going to happen. So what I'm saying to all my clients, and in fact, we actually circulated a WhatsApp group of all the lawyers up in the Marbella area and here in Majaca. What we've done, I don't know if in the Valencia region you're doing the same thing, is because transfer tax depends on the day that you complete at the notary, to avoid any nasty surprises, what we're doing is on all the deposit contracts now, what we're doing is we automatically, when it's a non-EU citizen purchasing, we're just stating on the contract that if by the time we come to sign the title deed, the transfer tax has modified, the buyer can choose to simply take their deposit back. The reason we're doing that, obviously, is otherwise it would make buyers too nervous and it just stops the transactions, which is really unnecessary because it may not even happen. But by putting that little transaction, that little clause into all the contracts, the last 2 or 3 days, there was a lot of doubts, etc. We've all come up with this clause and we're since then putting it in the contract and everyone's just going ahead, knowing that if between now and the completion in 3 months' time, there is a change, then they can just ask for their money back. And that's the end of it. Okay, so with that out of the way, because it's all something that may happen, may not, or we don't know, with the situation at the moment. If you're going to buy a property in Spain, basically you come over once you find the property that you like. I'd always recommend, if possible, to try and sort of preempt the future problems by finding a lawyer in advance of finding the property, if you can. At the moment you fall in love with the property, everything will start moving quite quickly because you'll be asked to put down a €3,000 reservation normally, take the property off the market. They'll hand over the paperwork to your lawyer. Your lawyer will do the basic checks, and then everyone will be moving towards signing a 10% deposit contract. And it's at that time that we'd put that little clause in to protect you if you're a non-EU citizen. Normally, you'd complete by power of attorney. You'll give a power of attorney for your lawyer. He'll also request your NIE numbers. The deposit contract will set all the conditions of the deal, and there will normally be a completion date of about 2 to 3 months after you sign the deposit contract. As far as the taxes and fees involved in a purchase, if you're here in Andalusia, where the transfer tax is 7%, we always like to say that all the taxes and fees will come to around 10% of the purchase price. If you're up in the Valencia region, Pedro and Ignacio obviously can explain with more detail, but you'll add on about 3% because the transfer tax there is 10%. If you buy a new property, as opposed to a second-hand property, instead of paying transfer tax under fee at 7%, you will pay VAT at 10% plus a document tax of 1.2, and if you're up in the Valencia region, 10% VAT and is it 1% or 1.5% document tax up in the Valencia region. You also have a notary fee, a registrar's fee, and a solicitor's fee. If in Andalusia, you ask your lawyer for a comprehensive budget and timescale, it includes all the taxes and fees involved. Normally, it should come to around the 10% mark. We also always suggest our expertise is inheritance work. We handle all over Spain. And we always recommend, and there's absolutely no doubt, as someone that's handled probate for almost 30 years, you said 25, it's just 30 years for me now, getting older. I always recommend if you make a will, if you buy a property in Spain, make a Spanish will to refer to the deal with the Spanish assets. It's much quicker, less expensive if you've got a will in place than if I've got to then go to probate using the UK will, or there's no will at all. As far as inheritance tax in Spain, both the Valencia region, where Ignacio and Pedro are, and Andalusia, where I am, the situation is extremely favourable, because Group 1 and 2 beneficiaries in Andalusia get €1 million exemption, and then you get a 99% discount on the rest. Up in the Valencia region, you get a 99% discount on the full amount. So as long as you're leaving your assets in Spain to your spouse or to your children or grandchildren, the inheritance tax is now almost non-existent. That's in Spain. Doesn't mean there could be other issues in the UK if the deceased is domiciled in the UK, etc. But as far as the Spanish side, it's a very good deal. Also, here in Andalusia, we don't have any wealth tax anymore. I think, do you still have it by El Valencia region, or have you done away with it yet?
Yes, we're still having. We're hoping that it will be removed, but we're not very positive though for this year, Michael, because it hasn't been approved.
So wealth tax anyway in Andalusia doesn't exist. In the Valencia region, it's above €700,000, but you've got an allowance for the house if you're resident, and if you're non-resident, they only include the Spanish assets. We do have this new thing called solidarity tax, which is like a wealth tax with a different name, but that only applies to people that have assets worth more than €3 million if they're €3 million in Spain if they're non-resident, or worldwide if they are a resident. If you're resident, there's allowance for the house. But if obviously it's a married couple, you have $6 million in total allowance. So it doesn't cover many clients. Unfortunately, we haven't got many clients under that. We have got one client. So there's not that many. It's $6 million in total if you're a married couple, basically. That's sort of it in a nutshell. I know you like me to do it very quickly. That's really sort of just a quick overview of things. I don't know if you want me to go into any sort of detail in any of the different things.
Probably, Michael, then we're getting questions, so probably I'm sure you could pick the one that is for you, and then you could go after. I'm going to pass over now, Michael, to Rafael, just to give us his own expertise. Obviously, he's an independent financial advisor. He's just used to cross-border transactions, especially for Golden Visa. He's been pretty busy these days because we still are on time to comply with the Golden Visa requirements. I try to attach here for those who still think they would like to relocate into Spain and fairly quickly, they could still do it through this visa, and it will allow you to become tax resident or non-tax resident as well. Okay. I'm going to pass over to Rafael. He could tell us a little bit what he recommends when you are relocating to Spain, and then Nicola will jump on later on. Over to you, Rafael.
Thank you, Ignacio. Hello to everyone, and thank you for this opportunity to be with you again. Okay, from my point of view, what I would recommend, first of all, is don't be in a hurry about your financial assets. Unless you are opting for you need a visa, a golden visa, as soon as possible, and you are doing it through the investment phase, you don't have to move your money quickly. And what I would advise is just contact an independent financial advisor in Spain and talk with them, talk about your objectives and your situation, and then make your decisions without any hurry and without any hassle. And that would be the advice, the general advice, because you don't need to move your money to Spain to relocate here, and you can also have advice for your assets, even though you still keep them at home, right? And unless you are willing to have this golden visa through the investment phase, then you don't have to. What I would advise is just contact an independent advisor and have someone here close to you that can advise over your current assets, wherever they are, and then make an analysis to see if if it fits you to bring your money to Spain and to have your financial advisor in Spain managing your money.
Okay, Rafael. I just before I pass over to Nicola, obviously you are 100% independent, correct? Even though you work for Mapfre Wealth Management, but you are free to advise on any type of product around the world, correct?
That's it. That's correct. Yeah.
For the Golden Visa, just a question before we jump on. How quick, if somebody's still interested for the Golden Visa, you could manage to place the investment into the Spanish companies? How much would it take that? Because we're still on time until the 3rd of April, as Pedro said.
Yes.
So how quick could it be happening?
Once you have your national identification number for foreigners, your NIE, NIE, we can do everything in about 8 to 10 working days. It depends on how fast you move your money from your country to Spain, but we take 48 hours to open the account, have your documentation, check it, and open your account. Then receiving the money, it takes nowadays just 24 hours. And once we receive the money, we discuss the investment. We can do it in like 2-3 days, and then put another day to receive the certificate of investment. So maybe 8 to 10 working days, it's enough.
Okay, but is a requirement for you to have the NI number, or they could still do it with the passport temporarily?
Oh, we can do it with the passport temporarily. Yes, that's
and they
correct.
will provide you when they get the residential. We'll provide you the NI. Yeah,
that's it. Yes, and we can make the investment while they're still getting their NIE, and then with the certificate go to applying the Golden Visa.
Okay, right. Okay, Michael, Pedro, Rafael, everyone, if you could please put your email here in case somebody wants to interact with you in a later stage, just in case they just cannot stay until the very last minute of this presentation. I'm going to pass over to Nicola, and then we'll cover what some of you are asking about renting. Pedro, Michael, we could talk about renting, because it is very likely when you are doing family relocation, probably the first thing you do is rent a property. Okay, and but Nicola is going to cover, probably if you're having children, what kind of options they have around Spain if they specifically need international education, because obviously they could have the option to go into public school, okay, which is local to their obviously their house, right? But probably they might be looking, for them it's important to look into international possibilities, and that's why we thought Nicola will bring good value to this webinar. Over to you, Nicola.
Thank you very much, Ignacio, and thank you very much all of you for giving me the opportunity to be here. And now we're welcome to all our audience. So as Ignacio said, my name is Nicola Martini, and I'm the Senior Student Recruitment Manager at Inspired. Inspired is an education group of premium international schools operating across 24 countries in the world. We are everywhere, as you can see here on this map, across the 6 different countries, educating over 90,000 students in more than 118 premium schools. And of course, we have a strong presence here in Spain as well, with 17 schools across the country. So we are in the most important locations around Spain: Barcelona, Madrid, Cádiz, Toledo, Ibiza, and of course in Alicante, where King's College, the British School of King's College, is located. And actually the King's College brand, that is quite well known worldwide, it's an important group of schools for us because of its tradition and reputation, which made it one of the most well-known schools here in Spain. So that being said, I thought that it can be good to share also my experience for you, to help you understand how important it is to have a clear understanding of the options you might have regarding education if you decided to move to Spain. Because in my professional experiences, I had the opportunity to live and work in many different countries around the world. So I started in Asia, then moved to Africa, Italy, Switzerland, and finally I was able to move to Spain with my wife, because I'm Italian, my wife is Spanish. We have 3 kids, so we have been going through many relocations all around. So we know how it is. So relocating to a new country is a big decision, right? So and it always comes with some challenges. So we know that, but it also provides you access to incredible advantages and long-term benefits for your family. And my goal with this short presentation is to give you an insight as how Spain and its international private schools can play a key role in giving you, in making your transition smooth, beneficial, and rewarding for the whole family, okay? So that being said, what are the challenges, first of all? Well, number one, you will have to adjust to a new culture, right? So this means that you will face new customs, new traditions, different norms. That is normal. For those who are not familiar or fluent in Spanish, there will be a language barrier, especially at the beginning, of course. Ignacio and his team are the experts of the bureaucratic processes, which involve dealing with visa, residency permits, and other requirements. And last but not least, your children will be required to settle into a new routine. And I've seen in my life, especially when I was working on campus at the international schools, a lot of students, new students, starting at the beginning of the new school year, being a little bit intimidated. They may worry about making friends, talking to their teachers, and fitting into the new school's environment. So this is absolutely normal. It's part of the process. We know that. It takes a little bit of time, so you don't have to be worried about, because there are also many benefits that you can gain from this experience. So what are those benefits, especially if you decided to enroll your children into an international school here in Spain? So first of all, I'm gonna use here some examples with our inspired schools to get you a better understanding of what I'm talking about. First of all, academic excellence. So our schools here in Spain offer top-tier education. The majority are accredited by the global organization of the IB, or they follow the British national curriculum. This means that your children will receive the best education possible to be able to enter the most important universities worldwide. Point number 2, language development. So attending an inspired schools means that your children will be immersed into a multilingual environment. So they will be able to learn or improve Spanish while maintaining a high proficiency level of English, or even they will be able to pick up another language. Global perspective. So our schools bring together students from diverse backgrounds, and this is absolutely unique. They will learn important values during their experience with us, such as tolerance, respect for others, friendships. And in other words, what I like to say is that we contribute to create the global citizens of tomorrow, okay? We also offer at our schools a wide range of different activities, from sports, arts, technology, leadership programs. These are part of our 3 pillars for education at inspired schools. And there is also another very important benefit that you can get, which is the one about the strong community networks of our schools. We have a very committed community at school through our teachers, staff members, students, and parents who are ready to help you with everything you need since the very beginning of your relocation process. And this is I like to say it's a very big plus, okay? And last but not least, we do offer also extraordinary experiences for summer. So in addition to the academic year that we can offer your children, they can also spend with us a bit of their summer if they want, usually in July. We have amazing options, not only in Spain, but all around Europe. And also we have a premium location in the Caribbean at the King's College School in Bahamas. So that's why I'm going to ask Juanfran now if he can play the short video that we prepared, so you can have a better understanding of the different locations we have, and then we can come back here after, okay? So thank you, Juanfran. I need to stop sharing, right? Yes.
It's great that they get to interact and learn from each other, as well as learning from the teachers and the activities that they're doing.
There was so much teamwork and people were helping each other when someone didn't know what to do. I've learned how to stay away from home for a little bit longer than I've ever done before. And I've also learned how to make new friendships. Global Inspired Summer Camp has given me the opportunity to meet new people from around the world and learn an array of different sports. This is my third year in the camp because I love it.
Perfect. Right. So thank you very much, Juanfran. Well, just one final thought. As you may consider this decision to relocate to Spain, what I'm gonna want to tell you is that please know that you are not alone. Okay, so our schools, our communities, and even our fellow parents are here to support you every step of the way. Okay, so I'll be more than happy to answer any question you might have at the end of the presentation about this exciting journey. So thank you very much for your attention. So now I'm gonna pass it on back to Ignacio now. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nicola. Thank you very much. Please just mention your email here in the chat so people could get back to you in the future, if applicable, because some of the audience will have children, some of them might not, but might have some friends. But it's always good to have different opinions, and especially you, Nicola, that you've been relocating, you said several times probably, into different countries. So that could give a lot of a good feedback, obviously. Now, we've got Moody from Bay Radio. He's going to just as well send us questions. We're going to start with questions and answers because everybody is already looking into it. Moody, you could please intervene whenever you've got any question from Bay Radio. And on top of that, Pedro, Michael, Rafael, I would like you please to select the one that goes to you, and then we could probably be as quick as possible straight to them. And if necessary, if they need to do a video conference, they will get back to you. Moody, you are online there?
Yes, thank you for the invite on, by the way. It's nice to join you.
Okay. Right. Do you have any questions from
Song Contest? You're doing a great show this afternoon. Congratulations. And what I thought might happen has happened, in that a lot of the questions I had from our listeners at Bay Radio, you've answered them already, or the panel has. But I do have a couple about immigration. Actually, shall I ask you one now?
Sure, go ahead. See whether we can on the floor.
Touched on the visa side of things, which is obviously going to come into it. So we're talking about family relocation. I think these particular listeners have gone with exactly that. Which is the best to make the process easier if you're bringing family over? Say you already live here. And how about if the family isn't going to be working in Spain? Does that make a difference?
Pedro, do you want to go over it, or just obviously a student visa is great? But Pedro, do you want to take it?
Yeah, I mean, normally, I mean, situation where we have is like when families are moving, and I'm talking about one of the parents or the family together, obviously, the children are attached to the visa or authorization of residency on them. Let's say we do it with a normal visa, will be like that. If it's a golden visa, for example, will be like that. If it's a working visa, entrepreneur visa, I mean, in some ways, I mean, it's attached to them. And obviously there is a student visa, which is also in cases that, well, I mean, we have like clients that they are coming alone. Sometimes, I mean, a minor, not a legal age, and sometimes obviously more than legal age because they are making, like, for example, a sport, they are playing football and they want to have a student's visa to study Spanish. So we do it in that route. But I mean, obviously the children, we attach it into the same application as the family members of the principal application.
Okay, this does lead on to just another one because it follows on from that. This is Gary in Benissa, by the way, which is on the Costa Blanca, just north of you in Alicante, and Almeria, of course. What about parents or grandparents? So the children, obviously, that would, if you bring the family over, they would come with it. But if you want to move parents or grandparents over, is there an age limit that makes it easier if they're over 65? How would that work? Does that come under this that we're talking about, by the way?
I mean, that's a good question. I cannot say a clear answer on that because obviously there is some, I mean, it is.
They're not dependent, I guess. You're saying they're not dependent.
Yeah, I mean, if they are dependent, and when we say dependence, is just we have to show that they have no money, no income, not at all, and has something that obviously the children needs to help, the parents, or they have like a big situation about health and no one can take care of them. That situations may fulfill the requirements to acquire and add it to the principal application. But I would say that in most of the cases will not be able to be included.
Okay, so they'd need to apply, I guess, for their own residency.
Yeah, if they, for example, if the parents are retired, there is a non-lucrative visa, which is you need to fulfill the requirements at the end, and mostly the financial mean, obviously the non-criminal records, but they have to do it by themselves. That's right.
Okay. Thank you. No further questions for now.
Okay, thank you, Moody. We will try to put in the chat some articles that might apply to some of you, might not. I recommend you all to try to click on the specific, see whether that gives you a little bit of hint, and then go into the blog as well, just in case, because we normally upload a lot of information. I know we could be here talking forever. Right, we're going to go back to questions. Pedro, do you want to pick the one that you had it already with Carmen?
Okay, well, there's just a start from from the beginning. I think I can see that it's about the USA is saying about the certificate of coverage, which is a social security purpose, and is so whoever comes to work remotely in Spain, let's say with as a remote worker with a nomad visa, needs to be, or the company where is employee of a company, to be updated into the social security system, or maybe just to become a self-employment and make an invoice to their own company without the relations of a employee. The problem with the US in this case is that we don't have, Spain and the US, they have an agreement on these cases. So as we don't have an agreement, then there's or you maintain the original social security there, but in this case there is no agreement, so needs to be inscribed without permanent establishment into Spain, but needs to be inscribed in the social security in Spain and pay the social security of that employee in Spain, or maybe just to, as a self-employment, be updated as make your own accountancy and make invoices to the company and get that. The difference, as I said, if you are an employee, you get the benefits of to be able to get a tax flat fee of 24% of a salary without any other income in the world. Beckham law is you pay taxes on the salary that you get in Spain. That's all. Rest of the income, you pay whatever the income comes in that country. The same year that you enter in Spain and the following 5 years. Okay, and with the US, with the USA, it has this issue. For example, I can see there is another question about remote working with a UK company are paid in GBP. It says, do you need to pay tax in the UK, Spain, or both? I have a Spanish passport and will be classed as a resident. Okay, someone which is Spanish, employee of a UK company. Well, first of all, you don't have to live in Spain in the last 5 years to have a benefit on Beckham law. So in the last 5 years, you do not have to be resident in Spain. You can be Spanish and you've been working abroad and then you come to Spain. But in the last 5 years, you shouldn't be living in Spain as a resident. And you have access to this special tax benefit to be treated as a non-resident for tax purposes. If you are paid in GBP, well, it's okay. I mean, it's convertible in order to do it in euros at the end whenever you have the obligation to declare in Spain. If you work in Spain, you live in Spain, and you are physically in Spain, your worldwide income needs to be paid in Spain. You don't have to receive a net amount. You have to receive a gross amount in Spain as a salary and then pay this 24% Beckham law. If you get a Beckham law, as we said, you don't pay any capital gains or any other issue you may get outside of Spain except the salary. If you don't get a Beckham law, you pay worldwide income in Spain, not just the salary as a regular income or percentages, as well any interest you may get in the world, any dividends, any lump sum of money, any capital gains if you sell a house. I think it's asking also like that. So be advised on that. What route is the best one in your case? With UK, we have Spain has an agreement on Social Security, can be maintained the origin of it to pay Social Security there, not to be inscribed in Spain. So that issue can be done perfectly, but you need to receive the salary gross in order to pay it in Spain. In terms of with a non-resident tax as a 24% flat fee, as I said, or maybe a regular tax. Okay. More questions, Ignacio.
I'll take the one
okay.
at timestamp 1741.
Right.
Okay. That's
Right.
good.
Would you like to take it, Michael?
Yeah, I'll take it. Okay, so I used to like this question a lot more than I do now, because this is basically a question regarding what's the comparison between the Valencia region and Andalusia region as far as taxation. As you know, up to a couple of years ago, there was a tremendous difference, and when we talked to people about inheritance tax, we ended up managing to buy via us in Marbella as opposed to up in the Valencia region. That's all gone now. Okay, so there's very little difference now. I'll just explain what those so small differences are, but they're not enough, I don't think, to make you to make somebody make a decision regarding where they prefer to live. Valencia and Andalusia are both absolutely fantastic places. They're quite different. You have a different experience in each place, so you've got to come to both of them and see which one you like best. So as far as from our point of view, at the moment of the purchase, if you buy a second-hand property, there's a difference in tax in 3%. If you buy up in the Valencia region, you pay 10% transfer tax. If you buy Andalusia, you pay 7%. If you buy a new property, there's hardly any difference because it's not subject to transfer tax, it's subject to VAT. In both places, the VAT is 10%. And the only thing is that in Andalusia, the document tax is 1.2, and up in the Valencia region, it's 1.5. In other words, there's nothing substantial in the difference as far as the purchase. Now, with the wealth tax, in other words, with the ongoing cost of having the property in Spain, everything is the same, with one exception, which is wealth tax. Now, wealth tax has already been abolished in Andalusia, hasn't been abolished in Valencia, but it's likely to be abolished soon in any case. So again, it's not that important. Now, wealth tax will only actually affect you if you have a jointly owned property, if it's worth more than €1,400,000 if you're non-resident, or if you're a resident, basically, you'd be taxed on anything above €700,000 worldwide, each of you, with an exemption of the first €300,000. So it doesn't affect that many people. It's not that high anyway, and it's probably going to be abolished in the future in the Valencia region. So again, I don't think, and also if your wealth is above 3 million for one person or €6 million for two people, you'd be in both Andalusia and the Valencia region, you'd be subject to a thing called solidarity tax in any case. So again, I don't think wealth tax has any substantial difference for you to move one place or the other. And regarding inheritance tax, which has always been our great selling point in Andalusia, where we had a big advantage, that has basically gone. In other words, in both Andalusia and the Valencia region, you have a discount of 99% on your final inheritance tax bill, which is based on a sliding scale. Your 99% discount as long as you're group 1 or 2, which basically means spouse and direct descendants. That covers children and grandchildren. So as long as your beneficiaries of your estate are going to be spouse, children or grandchildren, both Andalusia and Valencia region are great places to go for as far as inheritance tax. And that's it really. So it's more, I don't know. So we're both, Ignacio, Pedro, me, we both know Andalusia perfectly and the Valencia region perfectly. Definitely, if you want to have a good paella, I'd definitely go up to the Valencia region. But if you want good flamenco, it's definitely down here in Andalusia, not up in Valencia. There are many great things in both regions.
Yeah, actually, Michael, it's hard to decide. It's hard to make a decision, but I always say just try, and whatever just really suits you. Probably Nicola had experience living. I don't know, Nicola, you've been living around Spain already. You're in Madrid, I think, today.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very personal touch, isn't it? Is a very personal.
The one thing I would like to say about this, because at the end of the day, obviously we all want to have lots of clients and things, and that's what I want to do anyway. But I also want all the foreigners that buy in Spain to have the best experience possible. And if I had one word of advice, it would be is definitely travel around, because the experience that you'll have living in Andalusia or living in the Valencia region or living in a city or living on the beach or living in is completely different. Even if you're, it's not like Spain is just it's always the same. No. So I definitely move around, because we have clients, they've bought in Seville and they just absolutely love it. And yet they'd bought before in Marbella and they hated it. So the experience can be very, very different. So shop around, look around both in the Andalusia region and in the Valencia region. We're lucky because in both places you've got beach resorts, you've got inland resorts, you've got very expensive properties, you've got very cheap properties. There is a great variety in both places, so it's worth looking around both regions. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Michael. That's very good. I don't know if Nicola wants to say anything else to the audience about the relocation or any pitfalls that we probably didn't cover, Nicola.
Well, actually, I think we covered more or less everything all the topics that I wanted to discuss. But again, as I said at the beginning of my presentation, I know what we are talking about because I've been through this several times with my family. So it's a stressful process, but it's good that your clients know that they can find the right school wherever they want to move, if it's in the Andalusia region or in close to Valencia or whatever. We have schools everywhere, so we can assist them at any time. So my only advice is just to get in touch with the right people, with the professionals, and tell us what they are looking for, because each family, each student is different, so they have different needs. It doesn't mean that a school that it might be a great school can be the perfect fit for one family. Not necessarily. It can be good for another kind of profile, So that's why it's important to have this conversation prior to the relocation, so we can make sure we can put in place what they really need since the very beginning in terms of support, academic programs, whatever.
Okay, thank you, Nicola. I don't know if Moody wants to bring to the panel any questions, and let's carry on with questions and answers, because we still have some time, even though we could be here forever. But I'm sure, over to you, Moody.
In my head, I'm still comparing my school to that school in the Bahamas that we saw in the video. And very different setup.
Well, that's the gem of the crown. Yes, definitely.
Yes, I would say so. There is sort of another question we had, bringing it back to the immigration side and family. What about a partner moving with you, relocating with you? And what if you're not married? What do you need to prove that you're a proper, cohabiting couple?
You want to take that one, Pedro, or shall I jump on it?
Yeah, I'll jump on if you want to.
Yeah, well, I guess you talk. We should make a difference between Europeans and non-European, Moody. I don't know if you're talking about.
Well, I guess out of UK, I guess out of Britain.
So if we're talking about them, obviously, for one to apply for the visa, depends on visa, right? If we're talking about golden visa, obviously, they'll to prove that they are dependent, they need to prove their partners legally registered. Okay, so that's something it needs to be proven eventually. If you're just friends living together, even though we have the clients, Moody, that have been 30 years without even getting married, I understand. Obviously, not only because, Michael, inheritance tax will benefit eventually, because that's a big point, or social security payments in case they contribute into the Spanish system, but trying to bring the partnership registration. I mean, if they don't have it, obviously, that will be an issue. That will be an issue. Not being duly, or at least you need to. I think in the UK, Moody, is about living together. Yeah, I think there is a word like common partners, or
yes.
Common
law partner, I think they're called. Yeah,
law partner. Yeah,
or common law wife or husband.
Yeah, but you'll have to prove that. Obviously, if the visa is being lodged through the Spanish embassy, or we'll have to have enough evidence to prove. I mean, having a child together really could prove that's one of the evidence, you see.
Yeah.
But it will make the case a bit more difficult. But from a visa point of view, it might work. But I always say, from an inheritance tax point of view, Michael, I'm sure Michael will like this one, being partners or being married makes a completely taxed scenario, isn't it, Michael?
Sorry, I missed that. Being married or not being married?
Obviously, from an inheritance tax point of view,
will make in Spain. I mean, being married is key. I mean, the difference between inheritance tax being group 1 or 2, spouse, children, which is what we just discussed, almost no inheritance tax, to group 4 is tremendous. Group 4, for example, I mean, here in Andalusia, we have a sliding scale that goes from 7 to 24, and if you're a group 4, you're automatically going to multiply 1.9 on that scale. So in the end, it goes from 14 to 48, and in the Valencia region, it's even worse. I think from 7 to 36, you have a multiplier of 2. So we've had people married on their deathbed in hospital, because it's that important. I mean, it is a tremendous difference. So I mean, we've gone up to the tax man and paid them over €1 million in inheritance tax, when in reality, if they'd managed to get married, they would have paid less than €100. It's that crazy. And so I mean, it is just so important. It's unbelievable. And then I don't like the situation with common. If you're, for example, same-sex spouses from the UK, absolutely no civil partnerships, no problem. All that now, there's no problem. Before there was disputes like Junta Andalucía and things when you can validate it. Now there's no problem. But these couples, they just say we're common law spouses, and they've joined the local town hall little list. They're allowed. We're common law spouses, and they trust it. That's going to safeguard them from paying €800,000 tax. Be very careful, because the tax man, when there's enough money involved, they could dispute it. Because in the old days, when, for example, same-sex marriages were not permitted in Spain or didn't exist, the tax man was very lenient with those things because they were concerned about discrimination, etc., etc. But because now everyone can get married in Spain, and therefore there's no excuse, the tax man can dispute these sort of common law spouses that you declare someone's a common law spouse because they've joined a little list in the Junta Andalucía or the local town hall. We always say, get married. Don't complicate your life. Oh, but we've been told that if we're okay. No, the best thing is to get married. Get married in the town hall, get married in Gibraltar, get married.
Even legal partners, I mean, in this region, Michael, it's taking an average of 7 months to do the legal partnership here. Pretty much, probably in Andalusia, might take exactly the same. Some people don't even want to get married. But I always say for 2 reasons: 1, inheritance tax; 2, social security widow payments in case of applicable. Because that's another.
The thing is, what's the benefit of not getting married? If we don't get married for the principle, but if you're going to sign, it doesn't make any. What's the point in fighting the system? Get married. It's just a contract anyway. Just get married.
It's just a contract.
And there are couples of 90. They're going to die within 7 or 8 years, and they resist and don't want to get married. It's just not, it's not a sensible thing to do.
Especially when you make a will and you're leaving everything to your partner, you know, at the end of the day, the tax
Well, at
man
the
is
end of
going
the
to
day, I
jump
mean,
onto it.
what we always say is, let's get married with a prenuptial agreement if that's the concern. But there are ways around it, but why not get married? It just doesn't.
It doesn't.
Couples have been together for 30 years, and they're going to risk a problem with this business of that, and then maybe with very high value assets, and yet they're going to risk it just because they don't want to go up to the town hall and get married. It doesn't make sense.
Okay, we still have time for a few questions. I don't know, Rafa, Nicolo, Moody, do you pick anyone from here? That obviously we're getting hundreds and hundreds, and obviously best thing will be for them to do video conference if they need very specific. As I said, there is few things you need to bear in mind if you're moving to Spain. One thing is immigration. What is the applicable visa or residency permit? 2, taxation in the meanwhile, even though it's linked together, but not necessarily sharing the same rules. How much tax you're going to pay in the future? How is the most efficient way to pay legally? It is, but not more than what you should. Okay, that's 2. Obviously, buying or renting, as Michael said, shop around, look around. I always recommend start renting, traveling, as Michael said. And see whether the area you like it, and then you go later on and buy a property. Always appoint an independent lawyer to represent you. We didn't get into the pitfalls of a conveyancing, but everybody in this panel knows a lot of things about that. And then obviously everybody is supported by their investment. Important thing to have independent advice as well, what to do and what cost involves. Okay, as Rafael says, you don't necessarily need to bring your money to Spain. Even to get a visa, you don't need necessarily bring savings to Spain. Okay, it's about fulfilling their requirements, and obviously education. Again, back and forth. Shop around, look around, see which one is best for you according to your budget, your situation. As Nicola said, what it could suit and fit some people might not suit the others. Now I think we really covered most of it, but we're happy to do a video conference in the future. I don't know if Michael, you mentioned your email, Rafa, Moody, if they want to bring more questions to Bay Radio, they obviously will be joining you on the studio on Bay Radio at 4 o'clock for interviews, as we do every other week with you guys. Okay, I'm gonna just thank you all for your time. We're going to share with people now a video about, it's a 2-minute video about all the variety Spain has for you to move over if you make up your mind. I thank you all. I thank you, Nicola, Rafael, Moody, and Michael and Pedro. Juanfran always in the backstage trying to give us the best videos possible. Right, see you hopefully in 2 weeks' time.
See you next Wednesday.
Over to you, Juanfran. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can't stop thinking about it. That hidden cove, just for you. That little hideaway in the mountains. Or that beautiful postcard town. Dreaming about enjoying the fresh air again. Feeling the sun on your skin. Exploring, walking. Traveler, there is no path. Paths are made by walking. Never stop dreaming. Spain will wait.